It's really hard. And the more you cower, the worse the dynamic becomes, because it's kind of a two-part approach, but being a good, strong, steady leader when they can't be is what it takes. And so if you cower and go, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, they usually get even worse because you're not giving them the leadership that they need. People around you probably tell you to leave, depending on how bad your monster is. But they also have these great qualities.
Yes.
And so what can happen is, like what you just described, is that you may try even harder to please them so that they don't get mad, but that doesn't work either. And then you might feel sad, lonely, afraid, confused, or you might even start to think that you're the one that's crazy. It's a really bad dynamic to be in.
I agree.
Yep. Did I leave anything on that one? What happened?
No, no.
Okay.
The only thing that gets worse, though, is when there are others involved, like children. That's when it starts truly affecting them, because then the children start saying, it's okay for, since I'm not taking the leadership role because I'm cowarding, the children think it's okay to fault, but that's okay to live by, and that's okay to treat the other person, and that's a tough one.
Yeah, it's tough because as a parent, you want to model good patterns for your children, but if you don't know how to solve the situation you're in, you can't. You know, parents are doing the best they can. So we want to start talking about the solution?
Yes.
Okay, so the very first thing to be able to do is first just recognize that the dynamic is what it is, that you're not in a normal relationship with a regular person. You are in an abnormal relationship. And so the mistake that most people make at first is they act like they're just in a normal relationship, and so they act normally. They try to talk it out, or they apologize, or they treat the other person like the average person. And that's kind of like, well, I don't know if I use a horse example, it's kind of like if you normally have an old quiet trail horse and then somebody hands you a Mustang, but not an untrained one that happens to have a saddle on it, and you just swing on up there like you're riding an old broke horse, and all of a sudden this thing is trying to buck you off. You got to realize you're on a bucking bronco, and you got to ride it. You're on a different kind of horse. You got to ride it differently. Okay, so that's the very first thing, is realizing you're on a different horse here. So the second thing is to start by building your own confidence first. Because honestly, you have to have quite a bit of confidence and security in what you're doing to know that you're on the right track. And that's part of what this call is about, because the other person will probably tell you you're on the wrong track. That's part of the deal, blaming you. And when you start to make the changes that are needed, usually our monsters don't like that. They get mad. They get more mad for a moment. Oh my gosh,
more mad and more verbal calling names.
Yeah,
I think today. I think the last one was, "You're the worst person in the entire world."
Right. Yes. So as you start to change the patterns and mess up the old dynamic, they get more anxiety because all of a sudden you change the game on them, and so they do all of their normal strategies even harder. And that's when it's really important for you to say to yourself, I know I'm doing the right thing here. I got to hold the line. I got to just stay steady. I got to stick with it. And if you go back to the old patterns, they're going to be like, oh, good, I got you right where I want you. And the pattern will never change on behalf of yourself or them, because the pattern is not good for you, but it's also not good for them. So we want to change it on behalf of both of you. So let's see. You have to be the person who's going to change this dynamic if you're in the situation, because somebody else telling your monster to just stop and be nice isn't going to stop him.
Yeah.
Or if it's a female monster, it won't stop her either. Like the friends can have a talk with him, the therapist can talk with him, the parents can talk with him, his male friend can talk with him. And the only person who can actually, let's think of the Mustang horse again. Everybody can go talk to the horse. But when you're in the saddle, the only person that can ride that horse is you, or you're going to get bucked off. So that's where developing your own confidence is really key, because you're going to be the one in the saddle.
That's very true. You just hit it on the head, because no matter who I run to or talk to about it, they just don't get it and just say it's easier just to leave and let them go, and or they have advice, or but really ultimately in the bottom line is me, and I need to be the leader and in control.
Right. Because you can leave this relationship and you can go trade him in for a different horse, and you may get a nicer horse or you may get a worse horse.
Yeah.
So by developing your own skills, you're going to be just better equipped. The only time I would say that it's important for people listening this to strongly consider leaving, at least temporarily, because we can always do things in short periods of time, is if there's danger, and danger is a real thing. And so sometimes people make this mistake. They go, I just have to love them more, and love is a part of it. And they make the same mistake with horses. I'll just love them and love them and love them. And if we don't get the respect piece in place, people and horses can love their owners to death. They can just run right over them and they're dead. And spouses kill other spouses sometimes. So when there is danger involved, we've got to really pay attention to that and take more immediate steps for safety for everybody.
Yes.
Okay, so he's your monster, so you have to be able to do it yourself and build your own skills so that you can basically ride your own horse. And the other thing about monsters is they're pretty funny, because they're often nice to other people, just not nice to you. Oh, my gosh.
That is so funny that you say that, because he is such a charmer to everyone. Everyone just is like, even someone told me today, they go, they said, he is such a good guy, so I'm not going to choose sides. It's hard for me to believe that he does anything like this. And then they heard a recording. They heard a recording, and they went, whoa. But I can't believe that's him, because he's so amazing, and he's so good, and he draws people in. People want to be his friend. They want to see him again. I mean, it's crazy, and I love that about him, because that's what I saw.
Right.
And then I got into behind the door, and wow, I see how he handles things, and thinking it's more anger when really it's more hurt and lack of confidence.
Exactly. And it's really hard, because a person in your situation already does not have a support system at home because of these traits. And then when that person is nice to all the other family members and friends, and then you have a moment with them and go to the family and friends for support, and then they go, I don't know what you're talking about. Your husband is the sweetest guy on the planet. The problem must be you, which is what he's saying when he's angry. That can be really hard. So that's and confusing and lonely. I mean, all of those. Yeah, exactly. And so that's why you've got to be more confident than they are. You have to be more confident, and this is really hard.
I need to be the leader.
Yes, you need to be the leader, because when he's on adrenaline, he can't do it yet. And I say yet because the whole goal of this, what we're talking about, is to help him get to the place where he can self-regulate. Because you being the leader of him forever is going to get old for you. But right now, he needs he needs a hand. He needs help. So when he's screaming, if you can picture him going, help me, help me, I don't know how else to scream for help. That's what I see now when this is going on, is the person's like, I'm out of tools, I'm frustrated, I'm so stressed out right now. And then instead of flight, they go into fight. Okay, so we're clear on that one? Building your own confidence first. Okay, so then the second step is to build their confidence, which for some people is like hard, because I say that to some people and they go, are you kidding me? This person has a huge head already. They're narcissistic. They're self-centered. They're a jerk, and isn't that going to make them worse?
No.
Right? Right. What do you know about that? Go ahead.
What's so hard about that, though, is that I really feel sometimes he doesn't hear it, even though, because I'm naturally good at that. I'm gifted with that, of giving self-confidence and attaboy, really honing in on that. However, I just don't feel he hears it. And, I mean, does it become enough? I mean, and his
when he gets it from me, it's more not in words, it's in action. For instance, if the kitchen and the house is clean and he comes home and organized routine and, then that's where he feels that I've given him attaboys or, and rewarded him. It's not so much the words. The words he goes thanks, but they slide off.
Right. So however you build his confidence, he needs it built. Because no matter how they look on the outside, it is a mask. It's a mask. And part of the reason they get so much armor around them is because they don't feel strong. As strong people, they don't need all that armor. They're like the panther. Strong people are like the panther in the jungle. They don't have to run around chasing things to prove that they're strong, because everything gets out of their way. They know they're strong. And the panther's like, cool. He's like, cool, I'm fine. I'm a panther. But monsters aren't like that. They're like, I'm a monster, so you better treat me like a monster because I'm going to show you I'm a monster. look out, I'm going to get you, and I'm going to threaten you. If you don't get what I want, I'm going to hurt you and leave you.
Exactly.
And hurt myself. And so they get all kind of sketchy like that because they're not confident. So the more confident they get, the more they will calm down. And this can be a slow process.
Yes.
Because they thrash their own confidence, because every time they flip out, and this is part of the solution we're going to get to in a minute, every time they flip out and are mean to you, whether or not they admit it, they feel like a jerk afterwards. So every time they go off, they actually damage their own self-esteem even more. It's a really bad downward spiral.
Well, I would agree with that, because now that when he gets like this, I've been leaving, and it has been faster within 5 to 10 minutes. Before, he would never say this, but now he's coming in and kissing me and saying, I'm sorry for that. Today, we've had a great afternoon. This morning, he had one situation. I left the house for an hour and 15 minutes. He called me and asked me if I could come home. I came home. He got into it a little bit, and as soon as he started up, I loaded the baby. He came after me and was like, rah, 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 with all these words. You're the worst woman in the world, rah, rah, rah. And I said, either you're leaving or I'm leaving. And so he left the house. He left the house and was gone for 15, 20 minutes. He came back right up to me and he said, I'm sorry for my words.
Yep.
And then we've had a beautiful afternoon, evening.
Yep. You handled it just right.